Hello, world. This is Carole from Viva Vacation, and I've got my husband Bernie with me today. Say hi, Bernie.
Hi, everyone.
So, just as a recap, this is our second travel podcast. We're on a 30-day European tour, which began in London. If you haven't heard our podcast on London, we encourage you to go have a listen. And today we're doing our second podcast on Barcelona, which was our second stop. So, how did we get to Barcelona? Well, we were in London and we took a train, the Gatwick Express train, to the airport where we got on a flight to Barcelona. The flight itself was a little less than 2 hours and everything went relatively smooth. The only thing in the morning was that a lot of the roads, because of the coronations, were blocked off. So we had to take a big detour. So, what we said in the last podcast about giving yourself enough time, I think was proven again.
Yeah, exactly. The cab driver had to kind of turn around, cross a bridge over the Thames, and kind of reroute. But we still made it in plenty of time because we had given ourselves some extra time just to be careful.
So Barcelona is a large city in Spain. It has a population of about 5.7 million people, and it sits between the mountains and the sea. So you're surrounded by beauty, really. It's it also hosted the '92 Summer Olympics, and we really thought it was a beautiful city overall. So when we got there on the first day, what did we do?
Oh, yeah, the first day when we got there, we checked into our hotel, and we were lucky enough to have the hotel right on La Rambla, which is the main kind of walking touristy street. That it kind of is very central. So when we got in, we walked a little bit around that area just to kind of check out the sites and the little local alleyways with shops and restaurants and bars and all kinds of neat touristy vibe. And then we had booked a flamenco show, and that was kind of our first night. So that involved a supper, a lot of tapas food, different types of food, and great desserts. And then we got to experience a really cool flamenco show, which was not quite what I expected, but it was amazing, actually.
Yeah, so I was a little bit familiar with flamenco, well, quite a bit, just because of my figure skating background. But flamenco is a Spanish art form, and it has three parts to it. There's guitar playing, there's songs, and there's the dancing part. So I think most people connect or remember flamenco more for its dance form, but the guitar and the song that's attached to it makes it really powerful. So the flamenco that we had chosen, or the venue we had chosen, was Flamenco Cordobas. Did I pronounce that
I think
right?
so. Yeah. Cordobas.
Cordobas, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a very small venue, but it made it all that more intimate in the sense that we had front row seats and the stage was like right at our knees, really. So it just made it more powerful. You could really feel the emotions of all the entertainers, and I knew I would like it, but I was kind of happy that you liked it as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was like when they first came on, they had this amazing. There was three gentlemen, and they were all kind of dressed in black, and these had these powerful, almost like throat singing voices with these lamentations that were just so powerful and moving. And they also had like wooden canes, and they were tapping rhythmically with the canes as they sang, and clapping hands and snapping fingers. And it was all kind of very rhythmic, and it reminded me of, in some ways, of like an improvised jazz show where they were kind of just improvising and going with the flow. So really just spectacular.
Yeah, that was one of the things I learned, and I didn't know before, was that a flamenco show is not something rehearsed or scripted. They actually go with the flow kind of thing based on the music, on the night, the emotions they have that day. So I found that quite intriguing in learning that. So that was our first I guess, evening in Barcelona, which was really special. So take us through what we did the start of the second day.
Yeah, the second day, I think if you do go to Barcelona, you have to experience something about the great architect Gaudi. It's just a must see. So we started off the day at Parc Güell, or Güell as it's pronounced sometimes, Parc Güell, and we did a guided tour there, guided walking tour, and it was really quite nice. Beautiful park. The guide Marco was amazing. He told us great facts about Gaudi, some historical facts and some history of the park. That it was supposed to be. Maybe Carole will talk a little bit about that, but it was a great park.
Yeah, Puck Well, I guess is how you pronounce it, is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and like Bernie mentioned, it is one of the works of Anthony Gaudi. They started building it in the very early 1900s, and actually Gaudi lived in one of the houses for 20 years, from 1906 to 1926. So, what was interesting about this park was that it was actually envisioned as a housing development to get people out of the polluted downtown. But I think it didn't go as planned, I think for different reasons. And then it was that, I guess, that vision was abandoned and it became a public park in 1926.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, some of the, like, I've never seen anything like it. It's so hard to describe for me. Um, you kind of have to be there to experience it, but everything is so wow. Like, the columns, the big columns, and the seating, like
The stonework is just amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
and even things like a little facts, like there's these big round stone balls all along a walkway, and they symbolize in French a chapelet, like
rosary.
a rosary, and that's kind of the main walkway of the park. Gaudi became quite religious during the second half of his life, so there's so much religious symbolism in a lot of his work. So that's just an example of it. But yeah, amazing tile work as well in some of the buildings, and just the way that he designed the columns to support the arches and the stone fences. It's just spectacular. You have to. It's hard to describe. Hard to describe it.
Yeah, I feel like we're not doing it justice by trying to describe it, but I think it was definitely a highlight for me.
Yeah. It's also on one of the hills in Barcelona, so when you're at the top, you also get an amazing view of Barcelona itself. So well worth the hike.
Yep. So that was only the morning.
That was the morning, yeah.
Then we took a cab ride, made our way closer to the famous Sagrada Familia. Before we started our tour there, we had a few drinks along the pedestrian street, I guess.
I think it was called Gaudi Avenue.
Gaudi Avenue, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we were a bit early for. We had a tour of Sagrada Familia, and I think we were a bit early. So we kind of sat down along the way and had a couple of drinks and enjoyed the atmosphere, soaked it all in, and the Sagrada Familia was off in the background so we could kind of see it, and we did some people watching and some dog watching. Lots of dogs in Barcelona walking around with their owners, so quite cool to see.
Yeah, speaking of dogs, we mentioned that during the London podcast, where we were amazed that the dogs were all let loose in the city and no dogs ran away. They were so well behaved, but it was the same thing in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. So I'll go back to so Sagrada Familia means sacred family, and its construction started in 1882 and is still ongoing to this day. It is the longest I don't know how it took longer to complete this church, I guess, than the Egyptian pyramids, if you can imagine. They were hoping to finish it in 2026, but because of the pandemic, they're not sure if they'll be able to finish it. It is another UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it was one of Gaudi's designs as well. And actually, Gaudi is buried in the church's crypt.
Yeah, it's an amazing building. It's again one of these things that's really hard to describe. It's tall, and it's kind of this brownstone on the outside, and it's filled with carvings of religious figures, and there's so much religious symbols and meaning. All the numbers and images are largely Christian kind of based. And also he at the time he asked for self portraits, people to donate their image, and he incorporated them into the carvings and the Sagrada Familia. So that's kind of neat as well. So animal imagery, vegetation, fruit and vegetable imitation, icons on the building. So it's really an amazing outside facility, outside building.
Yeah, the architecture was like fascinating. I felt like there wasn't one place on the building that there wasn't something there, and it made it perhaps a little overwhelming, I guess. You could like everything had a religious purpose in its design, and it was very different than the, like, St. Paul's Cathedral in London, where it was more, I don't know how to say it, but like more symmetrical, more classical, maybe is the word I'm looking for, but very different types of churches, both beautiful, very, very, just very, very different. The inside was, like, for me, amazing. Like the windows with the colors,
The stained glass windows,
stained glass,
just
like,
so
wow.
majestic and huge, and the way that the light came in, they're kind of blue orange themes, just it's so big inside. You feel so small when you're in that building.
Yeah.
It's just amazing arches, and yeah, it's
But
spectacular.
even the arches, that's an example that I meant. Like in London, you would have seen the arches were all straight, but here the arches were all curved. It felt like it was like a tree. So the inside, if you looked up, it felt like a tree of life kind of thing, which was very, very different.
Yeah.
But definitely another highlight of Barcelona. Highly recommend doing that one if you're
It's a must. It's a must see. It's a must see in Barcelona if you're going to go.
Yeah. So that was the end of our first day, I think.
Yeah, we walked around and had supper, but that was the day.
Yeah, yeah. It was a long day, but a great day. So the next day, I guess, is we didn't have anything planned, so it's kind of go with the flow type of thing. We got on to the hop on, hop off early in the morning. And what was our first stop?
Yeah, we ended up going to the National Gallery of Art, the Catalonia National Gallery of Art, and beautiful, another one of these other beautiful buildings high on a hill overlooking Barcelona, with these amazing long walkway staircase, and it actually had some escalators too, which is kind of neat. But just beautiful fountains and just large public spaces facing it, and a nice, very long walk up to it. And we went inside, again, another one of these beautiful buildings, interior with arches and walkways, and a big kind of stadium with the big beautiful dome, great public space. And we didn't do the whole thing, but we saw a couple of sections of modern art, which again had a lot of Gaudi influences, and some of the great Spanish masters as well. So just another beautiful public space, great art gallery, and a really nice building.
Yeah, I'll be honest here. This is usually more your thing than mine, but I actually really enjoyed it just because it was quiet. There weren't like at the other two spots we were the day before, the park and the Sagrada. There were so many people. You had a hard time taking a picture, to be honest. But here it felt like a little breather, like we could breathe and just take it all in.
Yeah, a little more peaceful.
Yeah. So we made our way after that to the beach area.
The beach area, yeah. The waterfront, yeah.
So Barcelona actually has quite a few beaches, but they're all along kind of the same boardwalk. And what we did is we walked the entire boardwalk, and just saw all of the beaches. I mean, there's not a lot of differences between one beach or the next,
Yeah,
but
some have breakwaters that are a little bit more peaceful, different crowd, different vibe at each beach, I guess. Some were touristy than others, but
yeah,
really just an amazing space, just along the water.
yeah. Um, One thing that wasn't so pleasant was that we went from, Atlantic Canada to London, which was very similar in climate, I guess, very cool. And then we came to Barcelona, and it is here probably around 25 degrees. And I had not brought some sunscreen and got a really bad sunburn yesterday. So, feeling the effects of that today. It's one of those traveling lessons, I guess. But nonetheless, it was nice to see the sun and enjoy the beach boardwalk of the area. I think it's what makes Barcelona so unique, that they have, such nice beaches and the mountains and the culture and everything. So then we made our way back into the area we were staying on, La Rambla. La Rambla is so unique. It's like a very wide, extra wide um, street. So, and that was quite common in Barcelona, where you had, a street, then a row of trees, then in the middle it's like a pedestrian street, and then the same thing on the other side. So lots and lots of trees in places you wouldn't necessarily expect, and I guess that's part of what makes it so beautiful. But we strolled the shops on La Rambla and the off streets, I guess.
Hmm.
um, just soaking it in. They have lots of little kiosks on that street with flower stands and
Seeds planted, like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, seed. They sold seeds because a lot of people there garden, I guess. Restaurants, bars, little boutiques. Mostly on that strip, it's mostly souvenirs, touristy stuff. But it's an amazing area. But there was a lot of people.
Yeah, very busy.
Very busy area. So that was basically, we were only in Barcelona for 2.5 days prior to our cruise. We are now talking to you directly from the Enchanted Princess. We're about to start our 14-night cruise in the Mediterranean, going from Barcelona to Athens. But what would you say are the highlights for Barcelona for you?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful city. It's so green, and it's got a laid back urban vibe. Like we mentioned, there's large public squares. It's interesting. There's no big skyscrapers, so it's got a relatively flat, not a tall city. So it's comfortable in that sense. And so one thing that struck me, I took I take lots of photos, but I took a whole lot of photos of just the balconies. There's so many beautiful balconies in Barcelona, all these kind of residential apartment places or in homes that have just these balconies. So that was really interesting as well there. I think the must-sees are the Sagrada Familia, Park Güell, and the beaches. I think are so nice. I think, and just kind of soaking it all in Barcelona. Uh, if you've heard about Barcelona, you also probably have also heard about kind of the whole pickpocket thing. And in fact, when we checked into the hotel, the person at the desk there told us to be careful of pickpockets. But I mean, we didn't really have that feeling, and we were obviously very cautious and pack things accordingly. But it's not like there's a pickpocket lurking at every corner. So don't let that dissuade you from visiting a place like Barcelona or other European cities. I think if you use common sense and
You're aware.
and watch your surroundings, I think everybody can be fine. It's a risk, but it's not.
Not reason not to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Barcelona, very beautiful city. I've always been fascinated by the Spanish culture, and really it did not disappoint.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, Please listen in to our next podcast. We will be doing a midway podcast during our cruise. We will have visited a few other countries. The ones coming up are Italy, Greece, and Turkey. And we'll do another one probably in about a week. And I guess that's a wrap for Barcelona.
That's it.
Until next time, Viva Vacation!